Okay, so then it goes on. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ يَخْرُجُ مِنْهُمَا اللُّؤْلُؤُ وَالْمَرْجَانِ. And so what comes out of here now is lu'lu wal marjan. These two gems, this coral and these pearls that come out of this ocean right here. Again, the creation. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ وَلَهُ جِوَارٌ مُنْشَآتٌ فِي الْبَحْرِ كَالْأَعْلَامِ. Again, it's talking about sea trade now. How these ships, as big as they are and laden full of trade, they go back and forth and we benefit from that. Today, modern day warfare, the whole thing that's going on in the world today is because of the Suez Canal and the Panama Canal. Again, trade going through the ocean and when people want to take shortcuts. So the fact that Allah mentions that the barakah, the blessing, that one of the blessings He has done is allow us to put these big old heavy loads on the ocean and run them back and forth with trade. Which one of these favors of your Lord would you reject? And all the traders and all the businessmen in here, they rely on this stuff to come into dock. They wait for their shipments to come in so they can get their stuff and sell their wares that are rare in the areas that they're selling. I see some people smiling, you know, when they think about that. كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام. Okay, so now in this last part here, He said, Allah mentions that كل من عليها فان, everything on earth. كل من, and man, this word here, man is li'uqala. Okay, it's for the people with an intellect, meaning again the jinn and the men. But everything on earth, ghaliban, most of the time is for that. But Allah says everything, kullu man alayha fan, everything on earth is going to desist. Everything is going to die. And nothing's going to remain except for the face of Allah, dhul jalali wal ikram. And in this wasf, this description of Allah, you say jalal wal ikram. And the difference here in the two words, because they both denote nobility and majestic placement. Okay, but why these two words? Because when you look them up in English, you say, well, both of them mean majesty and nobility. Kiram from Kareem, and Jalil and his majesty. But one is just due to Allah, or both are due to Allah bidhatihi, for His own self. But here the Jalala denotes just by the mere fact that He is Allah, without doing anything else besides being Allah. He is Jalal. He is majestic and noble, and not doesn't denote might here, but the kingdom and the nobility aspect comes into place. What ikram is due to how generous and all the in'am, all the blessings that Allah gives upon His creation. So whereas both denote nobility, they denote different aspects of that nobility. You know, well, one is denoting royalty. This person, when you meet this person on a greatly lesser scale, you meet a person, he acts just by the mere air of himself in a jaleel, in a type of way, because he has good breeding, he comes from good stock, he has good manners. He hasn't done anything though, just himself. But then the person who comes and he spends on the people, he works and he does his effort. This is from ikramihi, okay? This is from his nobility of his infaq, when he's spending on his creation. Does that make sense? And that's the only thing that remains. This ends this aspect of that when He tells everything is going to end. This ends that second portion of Surat Ar-Rahmaan. And now we move on to the third portion. The third portion, come on, get this off the board, please. The third portion where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins with says, what do you call it? يَسْأَلُهُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ I'm sorry, I got another two ayah where it says, يَسْأَلُهُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ كُلَّ يَوْمٍ هُوَ فِي شَأْنٍ. He says, everyone on the earth is asking Allah for something. يَسْأَلُهُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَوَاتِ وَفِي الْأَرْضِ. Everything on the heavens and the earth is asking of Allah, طَلَبُ Allah. And Allah is giving. And in His giving, Allah is not busy to not turn around to another affair. كُلَّ يَوْمٍ هُوَ فِي شَأْنٍ. Every day He's in a new affair. Every day He's involved in everybody's affair. Those who are asking, He's giving, making those rich. He's refusing those other people. He's giving life and He's causing people to die. Okay? Everything that Allah is doing does not busy Allah from doing something else for anybody and not attending to everyone's affairs. Does that make sense? So then it goes on to say, okay, so then Allah says here, here He says, I'm gonna deal with you. I'm gonna give you your hisab. But this is a statement of someone who is not busy. So if you're not busy, it says, I'm gonna take my time and deal with you. And the person, the one that's not busy, that lets you know that even that he's going to give some special consideration. Ayyuha thaqalan. Here he's talking to the two heavy pieces. Who are the two heavy ones? This is the genies and the men. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ma'ashar al-jinni wal-insi in istata'tumu an tanfudu min aqtari samawati wal-ard fanfudu. La tanfuduna illa bis-sultan. It says, O you creation, Ya ma'ashar, O group. This statement in Arabic is, again, another statement that you cannot put in English language. Ya ma'ashar means whole group of people, whole group of whatever. But Allah says, Ya ma'ashar al-jinni wal-ins. O you big group of genies and mankind. If it is possible, if you think you can, get out of here and go someplace else outside of my realm, outside of my kingdom. If you go as far as you can and try to get, and this is the basis, you hear some of the Mufassirin talking about, the modern Mufassirin talking about, this is the basis why the kuffar have this big, predilection with space. And they keep telling you, we're going to go out in space and we're going to freeze my body so that when you learn how to get off this planet, we can get out of here and escape death and go 20 light years away and get out of here. And Allah says, "La tanfuduna illa bis-sultan." You ain't getting out of here. You can't escape. You can't go anywhere off this planet and get through the solar system without the permission of Allah. That's why when they put their ship up, they called it what? The Challenger that they sent out recently. And it came back and blew up on Earth, and they didn't even find the bodies of the people. They didn't even find the bodies of the people. So, there's a lot. And of course, they say that they traveled to the moon, and they still have that black and white picture, and they don't have any other pictures after, HD reality TV came in. They can't bring any more of that. So the ulama say they haven't traveled outside the lower heaven. They haven't broken that because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them, "La tanfudun illa bis-sultan." You won't be able to do it except for with permission, with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then it goes on to say, يُرْسَلُ عَلَيْكُمَا شُوَاظٌ مِّن نَارٍ وَنُحَاسٌ فَلَا تَنْتَصِرَانِ. It says that Allah will send these fire bolts after them, and they won't be able to escape it, and there'll be nuhasun, which is like copper, molten fire upon them, and then they're not going to be successful. فَإِذَا انشَقَّتِ السَّمَاءُ فَكَانَتْ وَرْدَةً كَالدِّهَانِ. Now here we're going to that other part where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking about when the sky is ripped asunder. When the sky is ripped. Now this takes us out of the reality that we live in today. Because to us, the sky is not madda. It's not a material that we can rip. And a lot of us in our weak intellect are so ignorant, we can't think past the extent of our intellect. So anything that we can't do, we think is impossible. But we have to recognize that the creation of man has a finite intellect. It's a limited intellect. Whereas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has infinite power to do whatever Allah wants. Allah created the sky. So if Allah wants the sky to rip asunder, the sky will rip asunder in a manner that Allah wants it to. And even what we think with science or whatever doesn't make a difference. So Allah says, when the sky is ripped and it becomes red and dye-like with that brownish duhn type color, and then the angels are coming through, and it says, فَيَوْمَئِذٍ لَا يُسْأَلُ عَنْ ذَنْبِهِ إِنسٌ وَلَا جَانٌ. Here is the third part right here, where we talk about the punishment of the genies and men. And I'm going to go over it just to talk about it right quick. So it says, فَيَوْمَئِذٍ لَا يُسْأَلُ عَنْ ذَنْبِهِ إِنسٌ وَلَا جَانٌ. The first thing we heard here is that they're not going to be asked. They're not going to be questioned. About what they did, about their sins, okay? Now some people say, well, no, hold on. They're going to be questioned. So the ulama, when they talk about this, they say they're not going to be asked, did you do this or did you do that? They're going to be asked, why did you do that? Okay? Why did you do that? And this is it's going to be done in a very, strong and zajr in Arabic is like a tough manner. So it's not really wanting an answer from you, but you're going to be dealt with, okay? And others say that they're not initially going to be asked. It's going to happen sometime later. When the angels come and they snatch up the people and the jinns and they separate them into the three groups, as muqarribun, ashabul yameen, and those people who are going on the left, they're not asking them. They're just taking them, you over here, and you over here, and you over here, and they're putting them in those different rows. So this is the different statements that they're saying about that. Then it says, يُعْرَفُ الْمُجْرِمُونَ بِسِيمَاهُمْ فَيُؤْخَذُ بِالنَّوَاسِ وَالْأَقْدَامِ. Here is proof about this. It says that what's going to happen next is that the criminals are going to be easily recognizable.